I have Nurudeen Hammanyero, a retired naval officer, and of course, a political affairs analyst. Thank you very much once again for joining and for your patience.
Thank you very much, Shafi'u.
So you've listened to the SDP national chairman, extolling some of the virtues, if you like, or the qualities of former head of state Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. In spite of the shortcomings, some say is someone who is being looked, differently by different people. To some, see him as the architect of the division, if you like, or the political differences, violent political differences we are witnessing today in the country. Let me get your perspective in respect to the autobiography presentation today. What do you make up with the various viewpoints?
Yeah, before I give you my take on this, I have a personal encounter with him.
Right.
With a couple of friends, we went to seek for his advice when one of our friends wanted to run under the not too young to run bill for a president. And he accorded us, audience. We discussed. And he gave us the insight of how he was referred to as the head boy. Also, I was not surprised when I heard Abdul Salam say my head boy.
That's right.
He said among all those that led this country as military head of state, he was the most senior to have taken over office at the age 44. Most of them were lesser age when they took over office. And he spoke to us like a father, like an elder statesman, advising the need for Nigeria to prosper and for young people to be in leadership, which we all agreed and respected. Now, for the autobiography, I differ a lot with Alhaji Gabam, with due respect to him. IBB is a subject. You can choose to discuss him in so many dynamics. And in whatever way you choose to discuss IBB, you have a lot to talk about. Now, for the autobiography, as much as he finally said the things Nigerians have always wanted to hear from him, and in particular about the June 12th, doing so at the expense of the dead, because the dead cannot rise up to speak, is where I differ with Gabam.
But he took responsibility for all the actions.
Taking responsibility is one thing. Today, the family like the Abacha's family is a family that you always get to hear return loots, the Abacha loot. So already there is an impression of the Abacha family. There is a way Nigerians sees the Abacha family. So now adding this issue of he spearheaded the annulment is where I differ with Gabam. And the president would have just...
You think it amounts to shifting blames now?
Yes, the president, the general would have just taken responsibility, apologized to Nigerians, and leave it at that. That would have healed wounds because he's still alive, and it would not attract different interpretations. Because believe you me, Shafi'u, tomorrow or even this night, you will begin to see counter narrations about this autobiography. Because
former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said that. He said you should expect, quite a number of people may not agree with him.
I'm even coming, let me tell you.
Yes.
General Chris Ali was Chief of Army Staff under General Sani Abacha. He wrote a book, Federal Republic of the Nigerian Army, The Siege of a Nation. And in that book, which happens not to sell in the country, it has been withdrawn from sales. And Major Hamza Al-Mustafa retired, the former Chief Security Officer to Abacha, made reference to that book during the Oputa panel. And in that book, Chris Ali specifically has much more blame to give to the IBB 8 years regime than any other person in Nigeria. Which
in terms of
in terms of crippling governance and then not allowing the economy to grow as the way it's supposed to.
But many,
I'm just telling you the impression of General Chris Ali. And if you read that book, he has a lot of things to say, which other people can argue. Many people can argue, but this was his own impression. Because now, if you look, the current, one of the special assistants to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in particular, Temitope Ajayi, has an article titled IBB and the Nigerian Polity. 41 pages. I read that document long ago, more than 10 years. And in that document, he made reference to the influence of IBB in the 1983, in the 1985 coup that brought him to power. And so many things that happened in Nigeria, including, things around drug trafficking and the rest. This was his own idea. Narrative. Yes. Now, and again, if you want to start looking at empowerment of individuals, he did a lot of things around institutions. He brought about presence of current institutions today Nigerians are enjoying, just like the road construction he's talking about. These are all achievements, but I'm saying in agreement to all these, I differ on one thing, and which is pushing the blame to a dead man who cannot rise up and defend
but
himself.
He was not just referring to former head of state, late Sani Abacha. He talked about quite a number of people, including the civilian.
He talked about quite a number of people
who participated in that.
Who participated, but Abacha's case was different because he headed it. And now, it's only natural to accept Abacha to be the architect because he took over from the interim government that IBB put on the way when he left office. Could that be an arrangement? Because today there are different stories about leaders in Nigeria. There are written and unwritten biographies of our leaders. You can choose to you can, because there are loyalists to General Abacha today that will be in total disagreement to what General Babangida says, and by tomorrow you will get to see their stand on Babangida's autobiography.
Right, but whatever he says, he said all of that happens under his watch, and he takes responsibility. So the fact that he has taken responsibility, I think, covers everyone, including the late...
Yes, and I agree. I'm not in dispute to take responsibility. What I'm telling you is there are subtle ways of putting things without necessarily...
But here we're talking about detail,
It can't be detailed because if you want to start...
of what
if you want to go into detailed explanation, believe you me, 5% have not been captured. So even the autobiography was like a summary, because every segment of his life, if you take, has its own details. And these details, there are people today that can tell you, yes, this happened and that did not happen. There are people that will corroborate this story. So what I'm saying in essence is this is just my point of view. Opinion. I can come here, if I give you a job to do as your head in the department, or you choose to do something different against my wish or my instructions, I can decide to punish you or let it go and take the responsibility, but not to wait after this long period of time. Only
32 years in the life of the nation.
Assuming General Abacha is alive and he said this, it's okay. It's okay, Shafi'u. But the man is dead. Yes, I like it. He said among all the generals, General Saliu Ibrahim was the only one that, stood with him.
And we happen to see also the encomiums showered on him by the generals, including his seniors. We've had General Gawan also talking about how, right from day one as a commander, during the Civil War and all of that, how he's been, a
that is not in dispute. Fantastic general. It's not in dispute. Yes. I'm not disputing that. I'm just telling you all this that have been said about IBB, we can sit down all day and talk about it, agree and disagree, but in essence, I don't want blame to be pushed to a dead person when he is in no position to defend himself. Right, that is my...
Okay, looking at other aspects, because we're talking about governance, redefining governance, so to speak, and all of that. I heard him talking about what he went through during that period, coming up with quite a number of policies, going through turbulence and all of that. And then he was able to navigate through by, getting Nigerians to rally around. He was appreciate the resilience of Nigerians. If you look at the similarity, you look at what we have, what is happening today in the country, we're going almost through similar feats. But how would you, just suppose, if you like, or differentiate the leadership style at that point in time and today, what we're going through today. Nigerians are yearning for, gasping for breath, so to speak, looking at the current cost of governance crisis and all of that in the country. What do you think are the differences in terms of handling of this turbulence we're talking about?
It's quite different, the civil rule and the military rule, Shafi'u. And again, so many Nigerians today who are conversant with economy, who knows much about the decisions taken during the military era and what has been happening from 1999 to date, or even from the 1960 to date, side by side if you keep it, a lot of Nigerians would tell you the devaluation of our naira starts with the IBB regime. The continuous borrowing,
the structural adjustment.
Yes, the continuous borrowing of money from the World Bank and the IMF started with the IBB. Now, if you want to be looking at this, and again, the democracy did not just pick up from nowhere and dance to the tune we are today. There has been a precedent. There has been a precedent. Now, if you look at, assuming the military got the best, just like the way Chris Ali says, the continuous stay of a soldier in politics will continue to be negative on the country itself.
And that is the reason behind.
And that is, it is the reason behind a lot of things happening in this country. A lot, which we can't dissect tonight. But in summary, whatever you see happening today has its way traced back to the military era. You cannot disconnect these two. Because assuming the military got it right, assuming the military got it so much right, now the civil rule has no reason, but to keep, adding on what they have inherited to make it better.
Yeah, but he talked about one distinct, quality, if you like, or performance that up to date has remained deficit in our political trajectory. He talked about election, for instance. The June 12, 1993 election was adjudged to be one of the fairest and the freest in the country, even though they were unable to conclude, the process, and then allowing the outcome too. And today, here we are battling with the same, issues around leadership recruitment.
And that is what I'm telling you, you cannot disconnect the two. So if we had this issue in 1992-93 of the military annulling the freest and the fairest election ever in Nigeria, how do you now look at the comparison. From 1999 to 2007, in 2003, General Buhari contested for president, and a lot of people will tell you it was not free and fair. In 2007 to 11, he contested. A lot of people will tell you it's not fair. 27 to 11 to, so now, again, coming back to the last 8 years of APC and now the President Bola Tinubu administration, the last election, a lot of people will tell you it was not free and fair. So where did we all get it from? Did democracy just cook these things on their own and put it on the table for Nigerians?
But is it also fair to push the blame to, if the military regimes can conduct such an election that is just to be free and fair, why is it difficult for civilian?
Was there impact of the free and fair? Because at the end, the conduct was free and fair, but it was annulled. So to what extent? How did Nigerians feel? Even the winner got to receive his award in his grave. He got to receive his award in his grave. Yes, the children might be relieved. Some people from the region who might have witnessed those things happening might be relieved. But there's a lot more owed to that man. You understand? No matter how you honor him, he will not be paid fully.
Yeah. Still talking about, leadership credentials, many have accepted the fact that former head of state, Prime Minister Babangida, has done a lot, just like you also admitted here, in terms of building institutions. And beyond that, I've had one of the respondents we asked, former governor of Kebbi State, was also talking about him being a person who also believed in building people's capacities, who I mean, believe in human development, human capital development. Isn't this some of the qualities that are needed today, in our leaders?
It is, Shafi'u. There is no two ways about it. These are the things we need, but you also ask yourself the question, are we getting it right? Are we getting it right? So my point here is this: we are still lucky to have him alive and a couple of other leaders. So when something is happening in the country that is not going well for the country, they should speak up. They should speak up because every president now in their 80s, none of them is less than 8 years. None of them. They are in their 80s. Whatever they are enjoying today is like an added,
value.
It's just an injury time.
That's right.
Anything can happen. Yes, we are not saying because you're of age you must die first, but of course at 80, you have gotten, Nigeria has given you everything.
And perhaps that is the reason why they are also putting some of the records straight.
Yes, putting the record straight, but I'm also pleading with them because they are still alive. They should try and also make sure we get it right, because we are still not getting it right as a country.
That's right.
Because we are not getting it right. Because we are not getting it right. That is why of recent so many things happened, like the denial of the CDS visa to Canada. Now look at another issue we are stumbling with. The USAID sponsorship of Boko Haram, even though it's alleged, but
even though the US embassy has denied that.
The embassy can deny, but the person who stood up in their own parliament and said it was not a Nigerian. Perry was not a Nigerian.
We also know about, the politics around, the Trump administration and the previous administration, and perhaps the name calling and all of that.
That could not be the reason, because most of them are honorable. They are honorable because they understand this democracy, and their reason is to serve their people. As far as democracy is concerned, yes, their foreign policies might differ, but internally they are doing very well. And sometimes when it comes to humanity, they can be straight. So when I saw that guy speak about USAID, and you can just put the figures together and look at the expenditure they are having in the country, what they declare they have done to Nigeria, you begin to ask yourself question, where did those monies go to? You understand? I'm just saying, if we are getting it right, you go to even neighboring African countries, you see how they are properly conducted, Shafi'u. But today, we still blame our leaders in their 80s and 90s and say, we have you to blame when you were in power, you did this with this, you in the power sector, you took money that cannot be accounted for this is very, and it's affecting democracy. Take it or leave it.
Even though even the US that we copy is now instituting a probe, a commission to probe some of the spendings and all of that.
We should also take it serious.
It is also not just limited to Nigeria.
We should also take it serious, because we have a lot of NGOs who enjoy USAID sponsorship. We should begin to ask ourselves questions and put credible people in positions that matters about Nigeria. You understand? And if there is any evidence of this allegation, if there is any evidence, we want to see Nigeria file their complaint and sue the United States, the International Criminal Court, because a lot of people have died. So could this sponsorship be to hold the country backward and refuse us from developing because there are certain vested interests around our mineral resources?
I think the Senate has already commenced such a probe.
I so much appreciate it. I saw what the Senate President said. It's in order. I liked it. Very interesting. It should continue and we should be honest around it. Because look at what happened. The former guy that was arrested, Gambarian, or what do you call him, the Binance guy, who was released based on some diplomatic, engagement between the US and Nigeria. Now is spilling some dirty things around our top personalities in the country, saying they asked him for some money, and
allegations around bribery and so on.
You understand? So all these things, we need to put credible people in sensitive positions, because it matters. And accountability should be key, so that when we are holding our leaders to account, Shafi'u, we can be happy that they led well and we are seeing the impact.
Right, okay, great. Coming back to our subject matter, looking at the people, the caliber of people that attended the presentation of the autobiography, I asked Gabam earlier, I mean, it shows that, does this show that former head of state Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida is it very much relevant, you know, in terms of in our political scene, despite some being, seeing him as, you know, taking the back seat, because what this shows to many is that it's still a rallying point. What do you make up around this persona?
You know, when he defined him as the most charismatic Nigerian leader ever, I agree to that, because last 2-3 elections, the moment is a year or two to election, you begin to see some movement from every corner of Nigeria to Mina, the hilltop house, and you begin to see some caption around the news always lead to Mina, and usually is to consult him. And if you go, he advised you because he had a very good time as president. Yes, there are, you know, different opinions around it, which I say, but he had his 8 years. And like you said, capacity development. Some people today that IBB has given hope have continued to transmit this same hope to certain individuals. And that is why IBB will remain relevant for the rest of his life, because he identifies people. For example, I give you. Now, when he came, it was National Security Organization, and he decentralized the intelligence, you know, architecture, and made it into NIA, DSS, handed over the defense to DIA, you know, and
even the National Guard, which was said to be...
Yes, and even the military started having their own. The Navy has Navy intelligence, the Army, the military intelligence, and the like. So all these things, when you look at it, he was somebody who was very good in identifying, putting round pegs in round holes. And because he had it well, these same people also have their own way of identifying the next person, and that keeps him relevant. And this goes a long way in the capacity, human capacity development you are looking at. Because today, most people, how many people were president before General Babangida? How many? And how many after him? Do they draw this kind of relevance? How come
some of them are still identifying with him? For instance, you've heard what General Gawan is saying about what he did, restoring his rank and all of that. We've also heard what General Abdul Salam is also saying in respect to, you know, even though they were friends and all of that, but he was able to also learn a lot from him and so on. But what do you make up with the absence of former President Muhammadu Buhari, even though, I mean, people are beginning to read meanings? You know, at some point there's this...
Of course you will read meaning. Everybody will read meaning. And I think at some point, even during the heated time of his election in 2014, 2015, before he came, you know, to office, there were a lot of questions around it, between the rift between them, you know, things that happened, how he was arrested, how he lost his mom and things like that, the forgiveness. And the man said he has forgiven, but he can't forget. And if maybe him not forgetting, and this thing is a personality, it's an individuality. You cannot force him. He said he has forgiven, but maybe coming close to General Babangida is like forgetting what he has done to him, even though they are old. He is not expecting any more damage from him, but like, look, if I come close to you, it's like saying, okay, you killed my, you locked me up, I lost my mom and I couldn't. So yes, I'm forgiving you. This is between me, you and God, but we don't have to have, we can't be friends. And it's okay. Because I said, I cannot be your friend. It's not a crime. Yes, they were both head of state. And him coming, maybe that would have also closed that window of speculation and things would just be normalized. But leaving it is like, but Buhari is still holding on to that thing. And it's okay for me. It's okay if Buhari chooses not to forgive, not to forget at the age 80. And Babangida too is not bothered about that, but he knows forgiveness has taken place. Nigerians should let it go.
The presence of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, if you read his comments, even though he wasn't saying anything specific to the former head of state, but he was also, reiterating the fact that yes, whatever account he's giving to the public is his own personal, experience. And of course, he should expect Nigerians will scrutinize it. Perhaps looking at his own experience, Nigerians have subjected his memo to public scrutiny.
And I just told you my own, because I have read all those things. When I told you about the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I read it page to page. Yeah. When I talked to you about the Temitope Ajayi account, it's because I read it. So if you want to, and that's why I told you IBB himself is a subject. There can be volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. It all depends on what do you want to talk about IBB. Yeah. Do you choose to look at him as a human capacity developer? Do you want to look at him as the most charismatic? Do you want to look at him as, the Maradona? Do you want to look at him as the evil genius? It depends on what you want to look at IBB for. So if you choose he is Maradona, you can write a book about it. Meaning somebody who only sees IBB as Maradona and has never seen anything about the other 4 volumes we just
more than that,
would think he is just the Maradona type, full cycle. And somebody who chooses to look at the human capacity development and goes page to page, digest the book, he wouldn't want to look at IBB in any light apart from that. So, but somebody who has seen a bit of all those things will tell you, okay, if you want to talk about this man in this light, I have a point. So for me, I have respect for the man. He was head of state. He did his best. Today, so many people will tell you, if not because of him, that wouldn't have happened. But again, some people...
Even the current president was saying, if not because of him, he wouldn't have been in politics. So everybody is making reference.
But again, if you go and look at those other documents I'm talking about, it will tell you their connection years back. And what is the connection all about? And you might start thinking, what are we looking at? You understand? So this is all about how you want to look at things. But for me, the man, a general, as a retired military person, he has my respect as a superior, has my respect as a father. And more so when I met him, like I said, one-on-one. In our group, we are just less than 10. We were fully giving time. He spoke to us like a father, and and seeing that he still has the country at heart, believing in Nigeria as an entity. He does not tolerate anything
he never compromised
he never compromised that oneness. Anything that talks about disunity of this country, they frown at it. This is one respect that he will continue to have from so many years. But even at that now, you meet somebody who is from the Oduduwa who will tell you he wants to have an Oduduwa nation. Somebody from the Saudis will tell you he wants to have a Biafra nation. And again, even the Northerners too, at some point now, are beginning to say they want another republic. So for people now will tell you, okay, the unity those people were crying for was just to favor their own interest. It's not for the interest of the country. And they can argue it, they have their point. But on a general note, IBB, a fantastic leader, he had his time. Nigeria as a country is young. Give and take from 1960 Shafi'u to now 64 years. So if General Babangida has 8 years, you take the percentage, he has 1/8 of this country in leadership. Just imagine, in a country today we are 300 million plus, and one person has 1/8 in terms of leadership. He has done well. He has his mistake. He has reconciled with Nigerians. He has taken responsibility. I hope Nigerians forgives him, just like the way Buhari, after his 8 years, has asked for forgiveness. But my only point, and I was not happy with that, and this is my opinion, is robbing it on a dead man who cannot rise up and defend himself. Okay.
Thank you very much, Nurudeen Hammanyero, for your perspectives. We appreciate your coming despite the short notice.
Thank you.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's edition of Daily Politics. Do join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another interesting topic and personalities. And remember, tomorrow it's also going to be interactive. You have the opportunity to call and share your thoughts on the various viewpoints that we'll present. And of course, on behalf of the technical crew, my name is Shafi'u Suleiman. Bye for now.